Well, welcome back after another excellent panel. Thank you, Stephen, David, and Mark for that. So into our next session, and this is Make It Count, Maximising Return on Investment from Print in the Marketing Mix with Mathew Faulkner, who's Head of Marketing from the Canon Europe Marketing Team. Mathew will be streaming a recorded presentation. He's been Head of Marketing at Canon Europe's professional print portfolio since February 2019 and is responsible for strategic marketing and product management, supporting sales organisations across Europe, Middle East and Africa. So let's hear from Mathew.
Hello, I'm Mathew Faulkner, Head of Marketing for Professional Print at Canon Europe. And I'm really pleased to have this opportunity to speak at an event that brings together brands, agencies and printers to talk about sustainability and innovation. Brands need innovation and creative solutions to increasingly complex commercial dilemmas. But on the whole, they don't feel they're getting that innovation and creativity from their print partners. So what qualifies me to say this? Well, at Canon, we recently spoke in depth to more than 200 marketing decision makers as research for our latest Insight report. And one thing that emerged very clearly from those conversations is a disconnect between what brand marketing professionals really need from their relationship with their print suppliers and what they're actually getting. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about quality, about service, delivery, and reliability. The print service providers among you will be happy to know that print buyers score you high on those factors. But our research does expose a value gap, so let me share some of those findings with you. 75% of our respondents told us that they want to look to their PSPs as a consultant. They want to know how and when to use print. 86% of those we spoke to admit they would welcome advice on combining print and digital. And they want advice on how print can be integrated to support digital and other analogue campaign elements. 80% of the buyers we spoke to want more information from PSPs on new approaches and innovations. And marketing professionals were open with us about the gaps in their team's capabilities, and they admit that they have to look beyond their in-house resources to address these weaknesses. But what comes across is that buyers aren't communicating this need for advice and creative input openly with their printers. And on the whole, printers aren't being proactive about offering it. Only 1 in 7 of the print buyers we interviewed said that their PSP was currently meeting their needs as consultants, which means that we're all potentially missing really important opportunities to innovate, to maximise return on marketing investment, to minimise waste, and deliver creative campaigns that make the most effective possible use of every piece of print. Better conversations with customers generally start by developing a deeper understanding of their needs. With the findings of this research, we set out to give printers important insight into the difficult environment that modern marketeers operate in. We spoke to senior managers in-house and agency side across multiple territories and in all sizes of organisation. And it's crystal clear that those of you who are doing this job, and I'm one of you, have a tough brief. We're expected to communicate complex messages to lots of different audiences using multiple channels. Everything has to be done faster than ever, and our campaigns need to be agile to adapt quickly to changing market conditions, to competitor activity and behavioural trends. We need to be able to adjust messages to what's happening in the lives of our customers, and many are doing it with static budgets. You could say that we're really being asked to do something that's virtually impossible. To achieve impact with customers and prospects, to acquire new customers, to drive sales, to enhance and differentiate the brand and build loyalty. So how are we responding? For the majority of marketing organisations, the answer is that a lot of communication is being driven onto digital platforms. They're generally perceived to be quicker and cheaper than traditional channels and to give more or less instant metrics. And in today's business world, we're expected to be able to show a measurable return from every euro we spend on marketing. And let's be honest, digital measurement, email click-throughs and open rates, Google Analytics, web and social media traffic is still relatively superficial, but it often ticks the C-suite measurement box, and it's addictively simple, which is presumably one reason why digital accounts for 46% of marketing spend with our research sample. In fact, 95% of respondents have moved spend into digital in the last 2 years. Many brands have also migrated spend from print to digital in the face of environmental arguments against paper, though it's easy to oversimplify these discussions. An average spam email generates 0.3 grams of CO2e, which is the carbon dioxide equivalent, going up to 4 grams for a standard email and 50 grams for an email with big attachments. So when you consider how many marketing emails go straight to a clutter or junk folder or are deleted without reading, it's clear that digital communication is far from being environmentally neutral. Now, I'm not here to argue that print is more sustainable than digital. It's a lot more complicated than that. And there are organisations such as Two Sides who can provide some well-researched and factual information about the sustainability of fibre-based print and packaging. But my point is really about effectiveness. Responsible marketing should be about considering our objective and then choosing the most effective, most targeted and least wasteful method of achieving this. The problem with brands defaulting to digital communication is that while spending nearly half their budgets on digital marketing, most of the brands we spoke to aren't always convinced that it's effective. In practice, digital is often little more than a string of bulky shots and banner ads, which are more or less guaranteed to fall short. And brands tell us they're worried about email opt-outs and ad blocking, while I find getting attention on social media channels is harder than ever. Digital fatigue is real, and it's getting worse in the wake of COVID. But what's interesting is that rather than seeing this as a fundamental flaw of digital media, the people we spoke to tend to see it as their problem to solve. They respond by trying to make digital campaigns more creative and improving targeting. But when it matters, they still invest in print. For me, with a lifelong passion for print, it's great to see that brands know they need to invest in marketing that's engaging, trustworthy and targeted. And this is where print is winning. 33% of budgets go on print, and 97% of our respondents run campaigns that involve print. Half of them frequently integrate print media into their multi-channel campaigns and say that print is a key success factor, connecting with their customers and driving response. Print is seen as most effective in a few key scenarios: when we want to create an image of quality or high value, when we really need to cut through with an audience, when we need to inject creativity and impact, when we need to reach specific target audiences and demographics, when we're in live environments, and when we need our marketing messages to carry most authority. Print has a tangible physical presence that digital lacks, and because it takes time to design and produce, consumers interpret this to mean that a brand values them more highly. Interestingly, among the decision makers we spoke to, 1/3 see print retaining its importance or even becoming more important in the next few years, and despite the continued rise of the new digital channels and formats. And that's partly because of this issue of creeping digital fatigue. And when asked about a hypothetical scenario where their marketing budget was doubled, 40% of our respondents would invest more in print. So you might be asking where the problem is. Despite all these positives that stand in print's favour, there are still a few unhelpful and inaccurate perceptions of print in the marketing community. And I think these are holding marketeers back from using print as effectively as they could. Our research showed that print is still seen as having some distinct weaknesses in comparison with digital. It's considered to be expensive, slow, inflexible and difficult to target. And in the age of digital print on demand, these aren't real issues, but we have to do a lot more work to make sure marketeers understand the reality. So let me just talk through these one by one so you can lay these myths to rest. Myth number one is print is expensive. Many marketeers still think they have to commit to large print runs to get economy of scale. So for the PSPs amongst you, you should be actively encouraging buyers to consider multiple shorter runs to reduce waste and storage costs. And you can talk through the options for targeting and versioning to make mailings more effective and improve their return on investment. And be proactive about showing customers how to manage costs and boost ROI with alternative media, different formats and finishing. And for the marketeers, be mindful of the fact that the cheapest e-shot delivers no value if it gets minimal response. Print may cost a little more, but if the result is exponentially better, that's an intelligent marketing investment. Myth number 2 is print is slow. Digital fast, analog slow is a common perception, but this often comes down to a lack of understanding of what's possible. So for the PSPs, your buyers may not know or care too much about the technology, but it's your job to explain that ultra-efficient print on demand and automation means it's quicker, easier and more sustainable than ever to create and deliver print. For the marketeers, it's time to start pushing the boundaries of agile print in your campaigns. Do you know that there are advanced programmatic or triggered print scenarios where you can use real-time customer data to populate highly personalised and time-sensitive mail shots and have them printed and posted in the time it takes to push out an e-shot, but with a much higher response? Myth number 3 is print is inflexible. And the perception tends to be that print doesn't have the flexibility we need to adapt messages and change content on the fly because marketing teams, they're still thinking in terms of long analog print runs and long lead times. So PSPs, you need to shout louder about the advantages of rapid turnaround, just-in-time digital production and ultra-short runs. And marketeers, please talk to your PSPs about how you could be creating multiple versions of the same asset and implementing copy or creative amendments as quickly as you do with digital. And myth 4 is print isn't targetable. And it's funny how brands automatically think about how they'll use customer data when they're planning online marketing, but they stop short of doing the same in their print campaigns. So it's time for a more in-depth conversation about personalisation to understand all of the options. And let's move past thinking about personalisation in terms of a name and address or displaying the recipient's name in a clever font on the cover of a mail shot. So for example, depending on the level of sophistication in the data you hold, you could be thinking about using geo-specific or transactional data to produce completely individualised content, or generating ultra-targeted print stimulated by your customers' online actions and interests. The production technology is digital, and print today can absolutely be cost-effective, fast to market, agile, responsive, and ultra-targeted. But because these more exploratory conversations aren't happening between the buyers and the print suppliers, these messages aren't necessarily getting through, so great creative opportunities are being overlooked. But the real challenge that we need to be talking about is that most marketeers think print isn't trackable, so they can't measure its contribution within a campaign. 1 in 3 of the decision makers we spoke to told us that they have no way of measuring the success of print campaigns. And we know that measurability is a critical factor in marketing decisions, so this is bad news all round. We have to work so much harder together to tackle this. And since so much contemporary print marketing exists to nurture the customer towards other online or other mobile channels, that's perfectly possible. There are a multitude of tracking devices available today that can be integrated into printed assets to monitor movement between platforms, so we can measure exactly the role that print plays as a portal to the channels where customer data can be collected, or better still, purchases made. Let me just walk through the toolkit that we have at our disposal. QR, or quick response codes, have been around since the mid-1990s. But the pandemic has given them a really new lease of life as a touch-free way of exchanging data. Each scan reveals how, where and when we interact with print. And I'll admit they're not all that attractive, but creatives and tech giants are finding ways of making them look better. Near field communication, or NFC, is also a fact of post-pandemic daily life. It's the technology underlying contactless payments. And for users, NFC is more convenient than QR codes. There's no need to open the smartphone camera to frame the code and wait for a response. And for marketeers, it's also more flexible because you can change information simply by overwriting what's currently on the tag. Artificial intelligence and image recognition make print assets such as catalogues more shoppable. Users can hold a smartphone over an image and be directed to a product to buy it then and there straight away if they want. There's no searching, there's no keying of a product code, no delay and no errors. And marketeers get all the data and metrics associated with digital channels. Specific landing pages are a fairly basic way to monitor the website traffic generated by a campaign, but clever URLs will redirect visitors and are also trackable in real time. So they're a perfect tool for evaluating the return on investment of a printed piece. Personalized URLs, or PURLs, can include elements of a recipient's name to grab attention and serve up uniquely personalized web pages for each visitor. Creating them requires a marketing automation platform, but printing them is no different to any other variable data job. And then there's the whole world of extended reality, from augmented and virtual to mixed reality, which offer huge and imaginative scope to engage with audiences, with print as the point of departure. And this session is not about delivering a comprehensive workshop on how all these devices work, but it's suffice to say, a broad toolkit exists to boost and measure print's effectiveness at driving customers to take actions on digital or mobile platforms. And of course, marketing attribution is a really complex, and it can be hard to know where to give credit in increasingly convoluted customer journeys. But these tools mean we can see clearly where print stimulates target audiences to act, for example, to register for an event, explore a website, or make an online purchase. And there's no credible reason for us as marketeers to claim we can't measure print's contribution within campaigns, or for PSPs to shy away from discussing print's return on investment. When we measure more and better, we can strip out what doesn't work and reduce wasted effort, reduce budget and materials, and focus our resources on the tactics and channels that deliver the results we want. Albert Einstein once said, "Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted." And if you can't actually calculate how many views an out-of-home poster had, does that mean it didn't do its job? I mean, surely effective marketing means understanding the purpose of each channel and each ingredient in the marketing mix and what role it plays on the customer journey. Measurement isn't only about metrics, but also about evaluating our outcomes against our intentions. And for this to happen, those intentions need to be part of the conversation between the marketing buyer and the print supplier right from the outset. If it's clear what the brand is trying to achieve, then PSPs can do more to interrogate that brief. As a printer, you might then want to suggest ways of modifying or enhancing the printed elements to improve the outcomes. You might even push back against the job specification and offer alternative or additional suggestions to achieve the goals of the brand. Here are some questions that should form the backbone of the conversation between marketing buyer and printer. What are you trying to achieve? Why have you chosen print? What else are you doing as part of this campaign? And what are the other campaign touch points? They may seem obvious, but are they part of every brief you're sharing? And today I'd go as far as to say that no brief about a printed marketing asset should take place in isolation of a discussion about the wider campaign it's part of. Because no single channel is an island, they're all interconnected. So for the printers, when you're clear on the role of print in a multi-channel campaign, you're best placed to help your customer use it effectively. And for the marketeers, when you share the campaign context of what you're asking your printer to produce and ask them for their suggestions, you may find that their expertise can help you come to a better outcome and a much stronger ROI. And let's not forget the role of emotion in making marketing messages cut through with audiences. Emotional connection with consumers is the secret to a powerful marketing strategy, according to the Harvard Business Review. Research shows that a positive emotional association with a brand makes us 8 times more likely to trust it. And studies have proved that print has greater impact on how consumers feel than digital, because it's a haptic medium. It's one that's perceived and manipulated through touch. One study tells us greater emotional processing is facilitated by physical material than by virtual. Essentially, the real experience that the physical media provides means it's better at becoming part of our memory. So PSPs and marketeers need to work harder together to maximise the visual and tactile impact of the print they create. That might involve choosing more visually appealing media, trying out new finishing techniques, or adding elements that encourage the audience to interact physically with the print. A marketing and print supplier recently shared a great example with me of how tactile print can boost audience recall. And they designed and produced a mail shot using a heat-sensitive thermochromic varnish, which hid a unique code that recipients had to reveal using their thumb. And the follow-up telemarketing was really highly effective, because people immediately remembered the mail shot. And in this instance, memorability equated to a measurable uplift in the outcome. And another way to ensure that print really cuts through with audiences is to make it personal or specific to a situation. This is about blending data and creativity, so mining customer insights and combining them with ideas and formats that really engage audiences. So for example, you could take internal customer data based on the target's recent purchases and combine it with external data such as the weather forecast. And this would create a highly personalised communication that sells a timely special offer for a new dog owner for a cooling mat for their pet to get through an imminent heat wave. Intelligent triggered print exists today, but it will become the norm. One scenario would be an online shopper abandoning their digital basket, so prompting automatic print and mailing of a pre-designed and personalised postcard to arrive at their home the next day, and perhaps with a price incentive to complete the transaction. Brands are already seeing the return on investment boost of this super integrated approach compared with just sending a reminder email. In future, we will have a 360-degree view of each customer, their interests, their lifestyle choices, and the detail of their purchase history. And from there, we can serve completely individualized content from hyper-local promotions to telling a shopper whether a product is available in their size. I love this statement from marketing automation innovator Enthusum, a company that Canon collaborates with, and it's about the future of print marketing. They say it's about replacing the high-frequency, low-value, poorly segmented, annoying communications of the past with meaningful, personal, welcomed conversations between people. And that's an important message for us all. Success will lie in value over volume, and the days of wasteful spray and pray marketing are dead, whether that's in print or digital, and rightly so. The marketing landscape is fluid and fast-moving, but impact is everything. As I said at the beginning of this presentation, our insight report exposes the gap between expectation and reality in the relationship between buyers and printers. In response, at the end of the report, we gave print business owners a 10-point mantra to think about, to make for better conversations with their buyers. And it's really about embedding different behaviours in our everyday business interactions to get a better outcome. And I actually think it serves as a mantra for both buyers and print suppliers to work more constructively together towards effective, innovative and sustainable campaigns. So here are the 10 qualities to strive for when you're next discussing a brief. Be digital. Use data to turbocharge your print marketing. Channel your customer insight to create well-targeted, individualised prints that really cuts through with prospects. Be agile. Print can be just as agile and responsive as digital. And so think about how you can reduce time to market for printed assets and use live data to make print ultra relevant. Be creative. Exploit the full potential of print using colour, texture finishing and personalisation to push the boundaries of your marketing. Emphasise quality, visual and tactile impact over quantity. Be different. Think about how print can be a differentiator for your brand and make your marketing stand out from the rest. Be confident. Focus on print's unique advantages over digital, its reach, its consistency, creative impact, authority and trust. Be multi-channel. Think about using print at different points in the customer journey to drive engagement, to boost response and improve campaign performance, moving audiences seamlessly between channels. Be proactive. Push past the obvious solution and take time to define print's purpose. Think about what will really cut through with the customer and explore beyond the tried and tested. Be consultative. Ask a full range of questions to ensure you've really matched the print brief to the campaign objectives. Be knowledgeable. Understand the technical and creative possibilities and how print can serve as an effective portal to digital platforms. Be accountable. Be ready to talk about your return on investment on your print marketing in commercial terms and actively use print to track and nurture leads. And we could add another 11th behaviour to that list. Be responsible. Make sure you know the purpose of the print you're creating, make considered format and media choices, print what you need, improve targeting and commit to reducing waste. With better dialogue between brands, agencies and PSPs, I really believe we can bring forward amazing, innovative campaign ideas and executions, create measurable value and make every piece of print count.